Assalamualaikum and a very good day. I'm Nurhidayah from New Era University College. Would like to present my paper on the title of Confession of a Shopaholic, Satisfying One's Through Counterfeit Branded Fashion Goods Consumption. Okay, before I start, let me read some of the interesting quotes taken from one of the movie. When I shop, the world gets better and the world is better. But that's not, and I need to do it again. So this has been taken from one of the popular movie of 2009, Confession of a Shopaholic. Okay. Okay, so let's get back to my study. It's actually on the counterfeit goods. What actually counterfeit goods? It has been defined as any unauthorized manufacturing of original product with remarkable brand value that has been copied and sold at a lower price. In other words, that it's merely like buying a fake product. Okay, so there are two situations and two forms of counterfeit as defined by Grossman and Shapiro. The first situation whereby we call it as a deceptive. So here a situation where consumer is unaware, consumer don't have any knowledge and they didn't know about they have been deceived by the seller that they are buying a fake product. Another situation whereby consumers are very knowledgeable enough to differentiate and distinguish either that particular product, especially the fashion goods, actually fake or counterfeit, but they still want to buy it or they knew about the status of the product. Why? Because of most of the consumer, according to the literature, they choose and willing or voluntary to buy the counterfeit because to project, they believe that the goods are able to project their desired social identity, status, position, and able to help them to enhance their self-image, esteem, and identity. And prior literature also found that there are some group of consumers who see that counterfeit is actually inferior in quality and performance, so that's the reason why it's only meant for the low and middle income level or social class consumer. So some of the consumer afraid that okay, when they buy and wear it, okay, they are going to be exposed to some of the psychosocial risks or consequences and being caught by the others that they are wearing a counterfeit and it will jeopardize their image and reputation. So that's the reason why they didn't want to be associated with counterfeit product. However, some of the consumers, according to the literature, although they are aware about this kind of the consequences, but they believe that counterfeit is actually too good to resist, means that be able to actually deliver some sort of the value, whereby they found that the high quality replication and duplication in terms of the physical characteristic, whereby it makes very difficult for the others to differentiate and distinguish that it was a counterfeit. So for them, it's actually a good investment because of they don't have to pay and also spend a lot of money, just want to keep up with the trend and fashion because trend and fashion always comes and goes. And some of the consumer found that feel that luxury brand or the manufacturer itself always want to satisfy and also fulfill the needs of the high income level consumer. So how about them that still want to satiate their needs and wants but unable and also don't have the money? So that's the reason why they want to actually a part of what we call a revenge for them. They buy the counterfeit version because of the feeling of injustice and also unequal distribution. In other words, that some of the literature also found that counterfeit is actually served as a gateway product, whereby before they decide to buy the original one, they need to try first. They need to try, they want to minimize the financial risk, so they try the counterfeit once they're satisfied with the performance and also what we call it the desired brand image, so they able to spend their money on the original. So it serves as a trial basis and gateway. And some of the literature found that there are some group of consumer whereby comes from the high social status and high income consumer also use and buy counterfeit product, although they afford for the original one. Okay, so they are going to actually try to deceive others because of their status. They're blending the usage of original and also the counterfeit, and they're quite bold enough because they confident they are not going to be caught by the others members. Because of that, okay, in this study, Malaysia has been chosen because of Malaysian consumer itself, according to the teacher. Their level of awareness to protect the intellectual property right, to appreciate the intellectual property right itself is very low. So we can see from some of the comment and also feedback or review that what we call it occurs in the social media platform, whereby most of the consumer are agree to actually buy the counterfeit or fake instead of spending a lot of money on the original. So this is some of the screenshot that I got from the Facebook page, Instagram, and so on, related with the consumer supporting the counterfeit product. So because of that, so the methodology for this study is actually conducted through phenomenology study, whereby focusing on what we call it, try to understand and also explicate the meaning of counterfeit in terms of their from the dimension of the consumer experience using and wearing counterfeit. So at least they should have 2 years experience in using and what we call it, wearing the counterfeit branded fashion goods. From there are 12 informants has been interviewed, and also all the interview data has been what we call it translate into the transcription verbatim and has been analyzed according to the thematic analysis. And at the end, there are 4 main themes emerged from the data. The first one is actually compensating original brand, whereby in this excerpt, you can see on the top is actually the excerpt come from the consumer. Okay, so they actually frame and attribute that counterfeit is actually a second best option because they don't have the financial means. They knew that they are unable to pay for it, so they try to compensate and also persuade their what we call it feeling because they are unable to pay for it by saying that, oh, this is actually the best choice for them as long as they are able to wear the desired brand and substitute it with the counterfeit version. And for the second thing also, unavailability. So this is a situation whereby consumer has a money, has ability to pay, but the problem is they didn't actually have the access to get the original brand because very difficult to get the collection model and so on. So they don't have a choice in order to satiate their needs and demand. So they need to find the counterfeit one as long as come from the same brand, same model and so on. So they attribute that counterfeit is actually the second best option for them, okay, to satiate and satisfy their needs and wants at that time. So it comes at the right time actually. And then the theme is actually seems identical, whereby it refers to the good quality replication and high quality of duplication of the physical characteristic in terms of the color, size, and so on. So it's actually copying exactly the original one. So consumer didn't bother about the function and performance as long as they are able to wear it in front of the public and other people didn't caught they are wearing the counterfeit. So they already feel satisfied because they're able to keep up with the trend and fashion together with the others. And the last thing is actually inadequacy. So this situation whereby consumer experiencing insufficient and deprivation feeling whereby they need to keep up with the fashion every time when a new collection model has come out. So because of financial constraint, so they need to find an alternative. So counterfeit is actually a good alternative to satiate the inadequate or insufficient feeling to make sure that they are able to keep up with others and also with the trend and brand. Okay. So the last thing is actually generally this study, because it has been conducted from the lens of phenomenology, which is the consumer lived experience, open up a new research dimension. Previously, consumer because of this study, we knew that consumer didn't care, didn't bother, didn't afraid that other people know that they are using and wearing a fake brand or counterfeit product. As long as they are able to satiate their needs and also satisfy their material needs and wants, so they feel happy, they didn't feel afraid other people judge them wrongly and so on. So for the fashion manufacturer or luxury brand manufacturer, they need to think what is the best strategy to actually solve and also tackle this kind of the consumer that didn't bother about the other people perception, and also how to make sure that other consumer able to get the product in a legitimate way, because like just now, because of the inaccessibility, the product is very scarce, very difficult to get, okay, unavailability things. So they need to think that how to make sure that consumer able to get that particular collection and model at the right time, so that they are not choosing a counterfeit product, and make sure that the fashion is actually a valuable things that should be invested by the customer. And in conclusion is actually, okay, we can see that consumers always try to actually justify the action and behavior. It's actually they are doing a right thing. So although they knew that it's actually what we call far behind in terms of quality and so on, but they always frame and attribute that counterfeit is actually the second best option for them, as long as able to satisfy their needs and wants is already enough and sufficient for them. Okay, so that's all from me. Thank you so much for listening to my presentation.